found that so interesting is that when, of course, we're really engaged with the world, that's oftentimes where we encounter distress. That's where we encounter challenge. That's where the opposite of peace can be sometimes. And though I found that at will we can begin to let go of those things that that keep us away from peace, that keep us away from connecting with that deepest self. And it seems to happen in two different stages. The first stage is as you set and you decide that, okay, I've stressed myself out enough. It's time to actually do something about it. It's time to actually take control over my situation in my life. And so step one to that, I've found, is as we sit in a present moment kind of way and observe our experience in a particular moment, the first level is negotiating the world. So thoughts that are negotiating the world, thoughts saying that I need to do these things, or thoughts thinking about my to-do list, or thoughts concerned about what happened yesterday, or things about the world. And then after, in this present moment awareness, where you're just sitting and you're just viewing out your eyes and recognizing thoughts are no different than the chairs in this room. They're just objects that you're aware of. And after you have that experience for a little while, then they begin to subside. After you realize that a chair doesn't need anything done to it. That's the same way with a thought. A thought doesn't need anything done to it in this moment. So after we're that way with thoughts about the world, then, and they begin to drop away because they're no different than a chair, then stage two comes in. And stage two are thoughts about our body and ourself. And so it's a pretty obvious distinction even, where we're very concerned about the world, and then after those subside, then the stage two is thoughts about ourself, usually in relation to how we feel. So it's thoughts saying, oh, I'm not safe right now because I feel this stress, or I can't relax right now because I feel this anxiety. So I have to do something about the way that I feel. And after we see that level two is like negotiating thoughts about what to do about this chair, nothing needs to be done about the chair, just as nothing needs to be done about the way that we feel. So once those thoughts too begin to, we see less need to negotiate them, they too start to dissolve and drift away. They start to have less significance, less substance to them. Then we're at that space of peace. We're at that space of being connected to being ourself. Being ourself. And what's so fascinating about this is that I've been reflecting on the ways in which this process is similar to death. Because as we get older, and as we get older, and as we get older, certain things become less important to us. We stopped being so concerned about all the worldly things of the world as we approach death. And we stop considering what we need to do for work all the time, or our next task around the house, or the way that person upset us. And we get closer to the core of who we are until finally we completely let go in that moment of transition. And so that's essentially what we're doing here, is we're dying while still alive. We're practicing dying. I dieth daily. So, with that being said, hi Amy, good to see you. With that being said, let's go ahead and die. Let's go ahead and close our eyes. And as we close our eyes, let's recognize that that first layer of worldly considerations, let's just begin to recognize if any of those thoughts arise. And we don't try to get rid of them. We don't try to fix them. We don't need to take action on them in order to be peaceful, in order to be happy, in order to be satiated or content. Just like a chair in the room, we don't constantly need to rearrange them to experience happiness or peace. Peace or happiness comes as a result of ceasing from constantly rearranging the chairs in the room. So as we simply recognize any first layer thoughts of worldly considerations, negotiating in our mind what we need to do next, or who upset us yesterday, or things on our to-do list. We may next notice our body. Our attention may subside enough from all the activities of external thinking to where we actually notice our body. Our attention's landing on our body. And the same thing goes with our body. Just as in order to get peace, we wouldn't continue to rearrange the furniture in the room to get peace. Peace comes as a result of the cessation or stopping rearranging furniture in the room. We don't kick the furniture out of the room. We just stop from rearranging it. So let's notice if at level 2 or layer 2, if there are any thoughts saying that we need to do something different about the way that we're feeling. We need to change or fix the way that we're feeling before we can be at peace, before we can be happy. Then comes the third and final layer, which is ourself. Ourself prior to having identified with an object, be it a worldly thing or our body or our feelings. It's ourself as pure awareness. That awareness that if wasn't there, then no thing could be known. And that's who we are all the time. But we just forget and become merged in with the feelings, merged in with the body, merged in with the objects of the world. And we really become identified as we constantly negotiate and think we need to fix or change something first prior to being peaceful or happy. We really merge in with those objects in our life. Thinking that the rearranging of them is what causes peace, what causes happiness, when it's actually the opposite. It's the allowing them to be for just a moment. It doesn't mean we won't try to fix or change them later when the appropriate time comes, but we have to give ourselves space to recharge by letting go. And we let go by realizing who or what we are. We are not the things of the world. We are not the body. We are not the feelings. We are not the thoughts. How could any of those things exist without an awareness of those things? And obviously awareness is always existing. Otherwise we wouldn't know those things. But we just become so tantalized by the objects that we become convinced that they are the cause of our happiness. An object that's not here would bring happiness to me. If an object that was here was changed, then happiness would be brought to me. But again, how could any of these objects be me? How could my body be me? How could my feelings be me? How could my thoughts be me? Isn't there something immediately prior that is what is being aware of those objects? Now, with our eyes closed, we may notice that there are only two ways that we can experience the body, two ways that we can experience feeling. And one way is through thoughts, images, and memory. And the other way is through sensation. So again, with our eyes closed, there are only two primary ways that we are experiencing the body in this moment. One is through thoughts, images, or memory, and the other is through sensation. Again, notice that with our eyes closed, there's only two primary ways that we are currently experiencing the body. One is through thoughts, images, or memory about the body, and the other is through sensation. And through the course of the rest of this meditation, we won't be referring to thoughts, images, or memory. But instead, we're going to keep our attention on the direct experience of the body, which, with our eyes closed and without referring to thought, images, or memory, is exclusively sensation. We can ask ourselves a series of contemplative questions. The first one is without referring to thoughts, images, or memory, and while keeping the attention on the direct experience of the body, which is sensation exclusively. Does this body have an age? Again, without referring to thoughts, images, or memory, and while keeping the attention on the direct experience of the body, which, with our eyes closed, is exclusively sensation, we can ask ourselves the contemplative question: does this body have an age? Again, without referring to thoughts, images, or memory. Does this body have an age? Asking ourselves the next contemplative question without referring to thoughts, images, or memory. Is there a problem with this body in this moment? Again, without referring to thoughts, images, or memory. Is there a problem with this body in this moment? Keeping our attention on the direct experience of the body, which, with our eyes closed, is exclusively sensation. Asking ourselves the contemplative question: is there a problem with this body in this moment? Without referring to thought, images, or memory. Notice here that we're not trying to change or fix or manipulate anything about our experience, but rather asking contemplative questions so that way we can see thought's automatic response mechanism as it transposes what it knows from the past onto the present, creating an alternate experience of the present, in this case, the body. So watch when we ask the contemplative question, is there a problem with this body in this moment? Again, we're not trying to change or fix or manipulate anything. We're only trying to witness thought's automatic response mechanism, creating an alternate experience of the body, which is some perceived problem based on what it knows from the past. We're just witnessing thought's automatic response mechanisms while keeping our attention on the direct experience of the body, which, with our eyes closed, is exclusively sensation. Now we can ask the next contemplative question without referring to thoughts, images, or memory. Does this body have a weight? Keeping our attention on the direct experience of the body, which, with our eyes closed, is exclusively sensation. Asking ourselves the contemplative question, does this body have a weight? Without referring to thought, images, or memory. And we may notice that such thoughts come up, such as, well, sure it does. It's under my legs. And again, without referring to thoughts, images, or memory, is the experience we refer to as weight under our legs anything other than sensation itself? Can we really even call the feeling we feel under our legs anything other than sensation itself, without referring to thoughts, images, or memory? Furthermore, we can ask the contemplative question, is there a distance between, say, what we call weight under our legs and the sensation of the area of our eyes, nose, and mouth? is there a distance between the sensation under our legs in the area of our eyes, nose, and mouth, without referring to thought? Is there a distance between the sensation under our legs in the area of our eyes, nose, and mouth, without referring to thought? Furthermore, if there's any sound in the room, can a distance be discerned between that sound and yourself without referring to thought, images, or memory? If there's a sound in the room, can a distance be discerned between that sound and yourself without referring to thought, images, or a memory? What would that mean for our lives if we really knew that distance was a product of thought, images, and memory? What if we really knew that the sense of being separate from another was only a product of thought, images, or memory? How would we behave differently then? Go ahead and take a moment to conclude anything you would like to conclude from your meditation. Take a moment to really discern what it is you would like to take back with you, what it is you'd like to make more conscious. Go ahead and take a moment to discern what subconscious understanding that you just witnessed that you'd like to bring back with you, so to speak, making it a more conscious understanding. whenever you're ready. Take your time, but when you feel sufficiently concluded, go ahead and slowly bring your attention back to each other and our conversation. I'd love to hear what anyone's experience was if they'd like to share.